Hey guys, so I thought I'd do the congruence and transformations homework that's due on the 28th coming up. Um, Thought I would do that one for you just so you can kind of see me work through it again. I'm doing this cold, so I haven't watched any of the videos. I haven't done any of the homework assignment. I'm just coming in and doing it and seeing what you think. Hopefully it helps. Okay, so it says Tammy was curious if quadrilaterals ABCD and FGHE are congruent. She was able to map one figure onto the other using a reflection and a translation. Tammy concluded, I was able to map quadrilateral ABCD onto FGH using a sequence of rigid transformations. The figures are congruent. What error did Tammy make in her conclusion? So here we see she reflected it, then she translated it to the right, and then she translated it up. Tammy didn't use only rigid transformations, so it can't be congruent. Um, Reflections and translations are both rigid. So, and rigid just means you don't change the size or the size or the shape of your object. You can flip it over, you can spin it, you can slide it. Those are all rigid. A dilation is not a rigid because it makes it go bigger and smaller. So she definitely did use rigid transformations. It's possible to map a quadrilateral ABCD onto FGHE using a sequence of rigid transformations, but the figures are not congruent. That's not true. If you can use rigid transformations and map them onto one another, they must be congruent. C, there is no error. I certainly hope that's the right one. There we go. There was no error. She's correct. All right. Question 2. Helena was curious if quadrilaterals QRST, and XYZW are congruent, so she tried to map one figure onto the other using transformations. It is not possible to map QRST onto XYZW using a sequence of rigid transformations, so the quadrilaterals are not congruent. What error did Helena make in her assessment? One or more translations or rotation would map it onto. So the quadra. So they're saying, well, she just didn't quite go far enough. She clearly did a rotation. All she needed to do was a reflection. Well, that's actually not true. As you can see, if you tried to reflect S, it wouldn't land on Z. If you tried to reflect, I don't know what point is this. This is, no, S is over here. If you tried to reflect S, it wouldn't land on Y. If you tried to reflect R, it wouldn't land on Z. They're not matching up, so that's not right. So no, another rotation wouldn't work, and another reflection wouldn't work. Neither one of those is going to get this to map onto this one. So again, there was no error. These are not congruent. All right, Pete was able to map quadrilateral ABCD onto EFGH using a translation and a dilation. I was able to map quadrilateral ABCD on EFG using a sequence of rigid transformations. What is his error? Pete didn't only use rigid transformations. This goes back to one. A dilation is not a rigid transformation. These figures are what they'll get into later on. These are called similar. They're the same shape, but they're different sizes. But they are not congruent. He didn't use rigid transformations. A dilation isn't rigid. It doesn't maintain size and shape. All right. Alon was curious if segments JK and NM were congruent, so he tried to map one figure onto the other. It is not possible to map them, so he's trying to put JK onto NM. And he says it's not possible. So all he did was he translated. He slid it one unit to the right, what is it, 5 or 6 units up, and he got this thing here. Now, one more transformation, a rotation. Now, spinning this, if we chose, could we spin it? Or could we translate it? Okay, well, this is the thing. I was thinking reflection, but they're going to talk about rotation. If you took that, make sure I get it right, and you twisted it this way, it would end up landing on top of MN. Now, a translation wouldn't do it. Translation just sliding it. So if they did, now I was thinking reflection. If you used a line of reflection right here and reflected it. So I would have done a reflection, but a rotation also works. So just one more thing and they would have matched. All right, that's that homework assignment. Again, I hope it helped kind of seeing me talk about it and how it would work. Now you can try it on your own. And again, always ask questions.